Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Dr. Katie, and today I want to talk to you about the concept of acceptance versus resistance when it comes to the mind and the body. Every person that I work with, and myself at various points throughout my journey, have struggled with this concept of being able to recognize resistance in themselves and learning to work their way through to a place of acceptance where they can take embodied action. So before we get into it, if you're not already a subscriber, please make sure to hit subscribe. Make sure that you like this video. It really helps my work get out there and reach more and more people to bring everyone into these important conversations. So let's get into it. Acceptance versus resistance. This is a concept that gets talked about a lot, but oftentimes I found myself questioning, well, what is resistance? What does it look like? And when I'm in it, how do I know how to get myself out? And that's been a huge part of my personal journey, is being able to recognize when I am in that place. So let's start off talking about what it is. Resistance is basically a state of non-acceptance of the situation, the mindset, the sensation, the injury, the experience, whatever it may be. It is just a place of non-acceptance. And it's a response that is a very natural response within the nervous system that stems from fear, ultimately. Resistance is a fear response in our nervous system. It stems from survival energy, and it's an attempt of our mind and body to regain a sense of control in what feels like an uncontrollable or out of control situation. So again, a very common and normal experience. Now, in my experience, both personally and professionally, resistance, when it comes to the body, shows up in one of three primary ways. The first is pushing, the second is avoiding, and the third is hyperfixating. So let's break each one down. The first one, pushing through. This is probably one of the most common things when it comes to pain or when it comes to honoring unmet needs. Very often, many of us were taught growing up and just in our everyday society that things are supposed to look a certain way, that they're supposed to be done a certain way. And so when something shows up that prevents things from being done that way or threatens how things are done, such as pain, chronic illnesses, burnout, stress, all of the above, our mind gets fixed into this should mode of, well, I'm supposed to be able to do this, or I should be able to do that. And what that does when our mind goes into that rigid place is it just pushes through. And that is a fear response, trying to regain control over that sense of how things should be and the fear of not being as we're supposed to be or as we should be, etc. And so resistance is that pushing through response. Again, very, very common. Second one, avoidance. This is pretty self-explanatory. Avoidance very often is refusing to acknowledge, look at, talk about, or address the issue at hand. Oftentimes, when it comes to the body or chronic conditions, that looks like avoiding the activity that is difficult, avoiding caring for the condition that's at play. It's just like putting blinders on, like the situation doesn't exist. And when it comes to stress and burnout and that type of thing, it's the same. We just keep going, blinders on, pretend that the thing isn't happening. Again, that stems from a sense of fear. If I don't look at it, it's not actually there. And the last one, hyperfixation. This is always an interesting one to work with the body, because you would think, someone's aware of the situation, they're asking questions about it, they're focusing on it. But the problem with hyperfixation is the underlying need for it to go away. And that instantly takes us into non-acceptance of the situation. So oftentimes in my work, I see this with people who have pain and feel that they cannot move forward until the pain is gone or the chronic condition is gone. Or I cannot move forward until this stressful situation has ended. Or I cannot move forward until this situation is resolved. So they're very fixated on that situation, but that fixation is blocking forward movement. And that is a state of non-acceptance. And again, a state of fear. needing to control the situation, needing to control how they're feeling, needing to control what's happening in their life and in the world. So those are the three primary ways that I see resistance, both in myself and in my clients. So now let's talk about the other side of the coin. What is acceptance? Acceptance is looking at reality as it is, looking at the facts of the matter, and accepting them for what they are. Now, oftentimes acceptance, the fear that people have around accepting a certain situation is that they believe that accepting it means allowing it. And that's not necessarily the case. Acceptance doesn't mean that we stop trying to find resolutions to it. On the contrary, acceptance actually helps us move towards resolutions to the situation. Because when all of our energy goes into resisting these patterns, resisting these situations, we block ourselves from the solutions because all of our creative energy is going into resisting it. When we can accept the situation for what it is, all of a sudden we open up this world of bandwidth to start to come up with new creative solutions to help ourselves through it. And it becomes so much more peaceful and easeful in a state of acceptance as well, because acceptance opens the door to supporting yourself through something. So for example, with pain or chronic conditions, acceptance doesn't mean just sitting back and doing nothing about it. But accepting means recognizing when you wake up and you're having a pain day or having a bad day with a chronic condition, that you set your day up in a way that supports your body differently. Or when you're working on the verge of burnout, when you accept that you're in burnout, you're able to ask for help, you're able to ask for support, you're able to lean into different resources that then help you to move through it. And so acceptance is such a crucial part of the recovery process. And regardless of what you're dealing with, at some point, a crucial part of the recovery process is learning to live in spite of the situation existing. And learning to do so in a way that honors yourself and cares for yourself. This is where the quote, "You deserve the same love and care that you give to others," comes into play. And that can be a hard concept, but when you think of if someone else were struggling with what you are struggling with, would you be responding to them in the exact same way that you're responding to yourself? Or would you maybe be approaching them with a little bit more kindness, a little bit more compassion? So just something to think about. The next time that you find yourself in that state of resistance, that place of tension, that place of arguing with reality, take a moment, take a deep breath, maybe even place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Turn your attention inward and ask, what am I afraid is going to happen if I accept things for what they are? Ask that question and then just allow for a little bit of internal quiet and see what answers arise. You might be surprised by what external expectations or even internal expectations are leading you into this state of resistance that really can keep you stuck. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Let me know where you notice resistance in your body and mind, and let me know what your experiences are. I can't wait to hear more. Thanks for joining me, and bye for now.